Well, hey there, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're diving into some interesting sales figures from Jaguar Land Rover, or JLR. It seems they've had quite the quarter, haven't they?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting report to unpack. JLR released their Q3 FY25 sales figures, and there's a lot to discuss. So let's jump right in.
Okay, so right off the bat, what's the overall picture here? I mean, are they selling more cars or what?
The headline is that their wholesale volumes are up, actually, 3% compared to the same quarter last year, and a pretty significant 20% jump compared to the previous quarter. So that's a nice turnaround.
So things are looking up, it seems. Now, I noticed that some models did better than others. Can you break that down a little?
Absolutely. Their best selling models, the Range Rover, Range Rover Sport, and Defender, saw impressive increases. The Range Rover, for example, had a 22% wholesale volume increase compared to last year and even more from the previous quarter, around 48%.
Wow, 22% and 48% increases. That's really something. So, what does that tell us? I mean, about customer preferences or something.
Well, it indicates a really strong demand for those luxury models. It shows that their high extent strategy is working, especially since those models make up 70% of their total sales. It's like the higher extent of their business is really driving the bus.
Right, that makes sense. But I also saw that retail sales were a bit down, right? That's confusing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Retail sales were actually down 3% compared to the same quarter last year, but up 3% compared to the previous quarter. It's not a huge drop. I mean, and it's likely due to some regional variations.
Okay, so wholesale is up, but retail is down a bit. I guess that's worth noting. So, where are they doing really well and where are they lagging?
Well, North America saw a huge jump of 44% in wholesale volumes, and Europe was up 6%. However, China saw a big drop of 38%, and the UK was down 17%. So there's definitely some regional variance to consider.
That's a really big difference. What could be causing such different results in those regions?
Well, it could be a combination of factors like local market conditions, economic situations, and perhaps even shifts in consumer tastes. Also, the report mentions they resolved some temporary supply chain issues that impacted them earlier in the year.
Supply chain issues. That makes sense. So it seems we are bouncing back from that. Now, what about the whole year? How are their overall numbers looking?
For the financial year to date, wholesale volumes are down 1% compared to last year, but retail sales are up 1%. So it's a pretty mixed bag, right? They've had a rough start, but this quarter seems like a significant rebound.
Okay, so basically, it's a bit of a comeback story. What do you think is the biggest takeaway from this report? I mean, if you had to pick one thing.
I think the strongest takeaway is how well the luxury models are doing and how they're driving a lot of the revenue. Also, the rebound from supply chain problems. That's something to watch for the future.
Right. The focus on the high end seems to be paying off for sure. Now, they also mentioned something about their Reimagine strategy in the press release. What's that all about?
Yeah, their Reimagine strategy is all about sustainability and modern luxury. They're aiming to be carbon net zero by 2039, and they're focusing on electric vehicles with plans for each Range Rover Discovery and Defender collections to have pure electric models by the end of the decade, while Jaguar will be fully electric.
Okay, that's quite ambitious. So they're really going all in on electric, huh?
Exactly. It's a significant shift for them, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the coming years, especially with the push toward greener technologies. They're kind of reinventing themselves, you could say.
Yeah, and the electric vehicle market is only heating up. So it's a smart move. So, do you think their current sales numbers support this shift toward electrification?
Well, this report is just sales data for one quarter, and it really doesn't indicate how the electric shift is doing. I mean, it mostly tells us about their current combustion engine models, right? So we really need to watch the next reports. It's like seeing the first few pages of a new book. We know the story has begun, but not how it unfolds.
Yeah, good point. The current numbers don't really show how the electric vehicle transition is going. We need to wait for more reports. Anything else from this release that we should consider?
Yes, they mentioned that they'll release their full financial results for this quarter at the end of January. So we can get an even deeper look into things. The sales figures are only one part of the equation. We also want to know about the profits and how that's affected.
Right. So more data is on the way. Well, this has been super insightful. I mean, JLR definitely has some good news with the increases, but they also face challenges in some regions and need to make that big push into electric.
Absolutely, they are navigating a dynamic market. The report gives a peek into their performance, but it's just a snapshot in their bigger transformation journey.
Yeah, definitely. So, I guess for our listeners, what we should all watch for is how well they continue their sales momentum in these next quarters and how their electric vehicle plans are progressing.
Right, and whether they can address those regional sales disparities. It will be interesting to see how they balance the demand for their traditional luxury models while transitioning to an electric future.
Absolutely. So, final thoughts. I mean, how do you see JLR's next few quarters going?
I think they've got some strong tailwinds from the demand of their high extent models and the recovery from the supply chain issues. But they will need to watch those regional sales and how the electric push goes. I mean, it's a complex situation, but it looks promising right now.
Okay, I think that's a great summary. So, to our listeners, we want to know what are your thoughts on the JLR sales numbers and their electric vehicle strategy? Let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, definitely. We love hearing from you. And make sure to tune in next week where we will be discussing, well, I guess that's a surprise.
Kama, you got it. Well, thanks for breaking down this report with me. It's been great.
My pleasure, and thanks for having me. Until next time.
And that's a wrap, everyone. We'll catch you next time.